Live on a Tuesday night after the conference championships. Joining us tonight on the Sports Nerds are Mr. Ken Koslow, Mr. Derek Lofland, and of course, Mr. Wayne the Professor Lynch. I am your humble host, Scott the Sports Nerd, and we are here to discuss for whether it's 30 minutes, 80 minutes, whatever, how long it takes, we're going to discuss the conference championships and express our feelings on the Super Bowl.
We're going to discuss it, and then we're going to be discussing
whether or not we're actually going to watch the game or not. But that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, we are live. It's good to have you guys. Let me start by saying Kansas City continues to get the benefit of the doubt. Roger Goodell and the NFL are in the earwigs of the referees saying, we got to make sure Kansas City wins this game no matter what. Is it fixed? What do you guys think? Go ahead. Derek, you first.
No, I don't think it's fixed. I think this is the same as people used to complain about Jordan and the Bulls getting all the calls, the Patriots and Brady getting all the calls. Good teams get calls, good players get calls. Were there some bad calls in that game? Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
I don't dispute that for a bit, but I don't think there's some league conspiracy with the officials to fix the game so that we see Taylor Swift's face on TV and keep the ratings going. I'm not buying into that at all. The Bills lost that game because they didn't make the plays when they needed to. The Bills have themselves to blame for that loss, not the officials.
Well, was that a first down, though? On the 4th and inches, was it a first down, do you think?
I do. I also think that you're on the road in the AFC Championship game, and they went 2 for 6 on that play call because they don't run the same tush-push that the Eagles run where they bring a lineman back and push straight in.
Right.
Allen was doing that step to the left and going forward. And
he always did. He always does that. Yes, he always does that. Yes.
You can't do that against the Chiefs. The Chiefs also know that he always did that, and they put in a defensive scheme to combat that, and it had been stopped numerous times before that, and they still went with it and left it up to the official to spot that. I think the one thing we got to remember, there's 12 cameras in these games. We get to look at these instant replays and zoom it in, and there's a yellow line on the TV screen that shows where that first down marker is. The officials don't have the benefit of the doubt of any of that stuff, and you're talking about a spot that needs 6 inches one way versus another. Now, I do. I think they have to get that call right. Yeah, they do, and it was unfortunate that it wasn't called right. But I also think the Bills didn't execute that properly and left it up to chance on the road against the Dynasty.
They've got a really good running back, Derek. Why don't they use the running back to try to get that half inch? You know what I'm saying?
Well, where was Cook on that last drive?
Don't get me wrong. Josh Allen is a huge, big, bruising quarterback when he runs the football. Okay? But if you know the defense knows what you do because of the past, you know what he's going to do. You know where he's going to go. You know the tendencies are going to be Josh is going to go to left. So you're going to overprotect on the left-hand side so he doesn't get that half yard or whatever it was when he goes. Surprise somebody. Do a play fake. Throw a swing pass out to somebody in the flat so he gets the yardage. If you keep doing the same thing over and over, you're gonna get bit. And that's what happened with Josh Allen.
Well, and it'd be one thing if they were 5 for 5 at that point on that play and are like, you know what? This is what we do. You can't stop it, and we're going to go ahead and do it. But they were 2 for 5 at that point.
Right.
It wasn't a slam dunk call. And so I think that you need to make adjustments during that game, and they didn't make adjustments. They were stubborn, and it cost them 2 2-point conversions, and it cost them a big 4th down conversion there. And they put it in the hands of the refs where they needed the refs to spot it within 6 inches. Right. And it didn't happen for them. And it's unfortunate that the call was wrong, but I put more of the blame on the Bills for being in that position to begin with.
Yeah, well, and again, you could see that the field judge and the side judge were coming up, and they were a yard apart as far as where they were spotting that ball. Okay, so I don't know whether they had a happy medium where they said, okay, well, if you're here and I'm here, let's put it here. You know what I'm saying? In the middle of where we're at. But right. I mean, it was pretty clear with the overhead shot and the sideline shot. Josh made that first down, and they just did. And to the point where they did not overturn that call is just frustrating for me because I know damn well Josh got the first down on that call.
Yeah.
If you ask me, I think he did too. But I don't even think that was the most egregious officiating mistake in the game. The most egregious one was the punt return where they didn't call the 2 blocks in the back, and that set up the Chiefs with that huge return that set up the touchdown to put them up 21-10 in the second quarter. That was blatant. I watched that and I saw 2 blocks in the back, and I couldn't believe they didn't call it.
Yep.
I think even Patrick Mahomes, his expression as he was coming on the field, he looked like he thought we got away with one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Whenever you see something happen full on in a live broadcast in live time, and you can see it, but the referees can't see it. Yeah, that's very frustrating as someone watching on television or as a fan in general.
Yep.
Right.
All right. Let's just before we get going, I just want to recognize a couple people. Paquita's in the chat. Hello, Cheryl, my love. How are you? Good to see you in here as well. You like me with no hat on, and the hair looks good, don't it? I'm telling you, I sent you 2 pictures. You should know. As well as Tim Lynch is in the chat as well. So,
What's
but
up
anyway,
to my brother and my sister Panquita and my brother Tim.
Yep.
Oh,
but to be honest, guys, I was just so disgusted with that whole game. And again, I'm one of the few out there that is actually chiefed out. I'm tired of seeing these guys Super Bowl year after year. I mean, my hate for the Kansas City Chiefs are borderline on my hate for the Patriots at this point. You know what I'm saying?
That's saying a lot.
Somebody's got to stop it. But I'll tell you, if anybody's going to stop them, it's going to be this Eagles team. This Eagles team is a dominant team. It's the best. It's better than they were two years ago when they played the Chiefs. Saquon Barkley should be the MVP of the league. I don't care what anybody says. Jackson or not, I think Saquon should be the MVP of the league. But for one day, I'm going to be a Philly fan. I'm just saying.
Same here. Going back to Sunday's game, along with what Derek said, I don't think there's an NFL-wide conspiracy with Roger Goodell, but I do believe certain referees give leeway to certain players, just like in the NBA back in the Jordan era or Kobe or whomever you want to, mention. What I don't understand is we have this technology in tennis. We have this technology in other sports. Why can't they put a chip in the football and have the yard markers synchronized? So on close calls like that, you don't have Gene Skerator putting an index card in between the football and the first down marker, or what we had on Sunday.
I'm glad you brought that up.
You have the technology to do this.
I'm glad you brought that up because Dan Patrick's show, if you guys haven't seen it, I've never watched him. He's on Peacock every day at 9 a.m. He had a former Eagles he had a former offensive lineman. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But he has talked to people about that situation as far as the chip on the ball. The problem with the chip in the ball is, number one, the ball is oblong. It's not like a tennis ball where the Hawkeye can tell where the ball is when it goes in or out. Okay. The ball is oblong. Second fact is the chip in the ball cannot tell you when that player, his knee hits, his elbow hits, or whatever hits the ground. Okay. Only thing the chip can do is tell you where the ball is as far as on the field, but it doesn't tell you when the runner's knee is down, when his elbow is down by contact, nothing. It can't tell you that. That's why the chip in the ball is not conducive to the game, and that's the owner, and that's basically what it is.
Okay.
Well, the other problem I would think too is the ball has 2 ends to it.
Correct.
And so if Josh Allen goes in and this end of the football is forward, but the chip is back here,
In the
it's not
middle,
going to do you any
of the ball,
good.
you just don't know.
And if you have left chip and right chip, you don't know when he goes down there which one was which, and then trying to figure that afterwards. I'm sure there's a computer geek out there that could figure that out a lot better than I could, but I can see
Well,
some of the problems with it right away.
see, that's what I was about to say. Is this where we can introduce drone technology and have a drone
Well,
overhead?
they've got the overhead camera.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the overhead camera can show everything. You know,
I would think so.
Use the overhead camera as a replay assist.
Right.
To tell you where that player was
Yeah.
when he went down, or whether or not he made the first down. That's the simplest. That's the simplest conclusion you can come to. You know,
well, if they use the overhead camera, and if they got 2 sideline cameras, at some point you can extrapolate where the ball is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would think
the simplest solution is not to call the
technology.
The simplest solution is not to call the play that you got stuffed on 3 times.
Well, yeah, well, that's the
that too.
Put yourself in that situation.
Or when quarterback sneak in and you keep going to the offensive side, which is the left side. How about, I don't know, go to the right, since they're all stacked to the offensive left. Go to the right. Maybe that would have helped. But yeah, the play calling, I agree, was stupid, for lack of a better term. But the egregious blocking the backs on the punt return in the second quarter, that to me, once again agreeing with Derek, that to me was the issue.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: is I think this team has kind of shown this, and I've heard this on a number of shows I've listened to this week about too. They've hit their ceiling, I think, with Sean McDermott, and what you see in these games is that he gets out coached time and time again, whether it be 13 seconds left on the clock. And not managing that properly a couple of years ago. In this game, they don't change their pass protections during the course of the season and pretty much run the same thing. And so it's okay to do that if you're in a situation where you could run or you could pass, because Spags isn't going to go and do a cover zero and blitz everybody if there's a chance that they're going to run the ball. But you get to the last 3 minutes of the game. They're going to have to pass the ball in that situation, and he doesn't adjust the pass protection at all. Josh Allen didn't change it at the line of scrimmage, and then he's having to throw a ball up for grabs in the middle of the field because he doesn't have time to throw the ball. And I don't see Andy Reid doing those things. I don't see Patrick Mahomes doing those things. They rise to the moment, and McDermott doesn't.
And everybody's giving Dawson Knox shit for not catching that football. You know what? He didn't know the ball was coming.
It was a hell of an effort for him just to dive back.
It was a hell of an effort for Josh just to throw that ball to begin with. Okay, Dawson Knox had no idea that ball was coming, and by the time he saw it, it was too late to catch it because it was awkward. And you're talking about the head coach of the Bills. Reminds me of Sean, a coach in Wisconsin. Also getting outplayed every time he has he plays in the playoffs. Green Bay.
I'm not going to dispute that. I mean, he's had some issues in the playoffs too, and I don't like his clock management either. I don't like when they go for it on 4th down. I don't like when they go for 2-point conversions and stuff like that. I don't think he's quite as far along as McDermott is with this.
McDermott.
Yeah, McDermott with this Bills team. But no, that's fair. I mean, he inherited an MVP quarterback, and Love has looked good at times, and they've come up short in the playoffs. So I think he's at the point in his career where that criticism is warranted.
Well, I mean, Love is at the beginning of his career, so he's got a lot of time in him to where he can improve on his playoff performances. I mean, Green Bay they made the playoffs, so they had a great season along with Minnesota and Detroit. I feel bad for Dawson Knox because he's getting the same treatment as Mark Andrews did with Baltimore.
Not Dawson Knox, Kincaid.
Dawson Kincaid, excuse me. He's getting the same treatment as Mark Andrews did with the Ravens. So, and again, I am of the opinion that ball. I mean, again, you can see Josh was throwing a hope up for a hope and a prayer on that ball, hoping that he can come down with the ball, and he was out of position. He didn't know it was coming to him, and by the time he saw it, it was too late. You know what I'm saying? So, but
Let me
regardless,
jump in right quick.
I mean, you got to feel for the Bills. That's the fourth time that Josh has lost to Patrick Mahomes. When again, it's not Patrick he's losing to; it's that Kansas City defense. But still, it was I don't know where the Bills go from here. I don't know if they need more weapons. They need a better defense. To be honest with you, Derek, don't you think?
Yeah.
Well, Ken's dying to get in with something.
Go ahead, Ken. Go ahead.
I'm not the most superstitious guy in the world, but I think McDermott cost his team the game a couple of plays where he had when he scored the touchdown to make it 21-16 and he kicked the point, but they had a foul on Kansas City on there and they moved the ball up. He tried to go for two and take the point off the scoreboard, and that failed. And I'm of the old school thing. You don't take points off the board. I mean,
No.
it's that.
Don't chase the points until you have to.
Once they got the other touchdown, and if it's 21-17 and that makes it 23-21,
yep.
Then you kick the point and it's a 3-point game.
Yep.
And then back and forth. If it goes that direction, then that last field goal that Kansas City kicked for the victory ends up putting it in overtime instead. Yep. So, I mean, McDermott, I think sometimes he outcoaches himself. But there was the fact that the number of foul calls went against the Bills. I mean, that's pretty blatantly obvious.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I think the Chiefs are living rent-free in the Bills' heads right now because it's getting to be a who's your daddy type thing.
Right.
It's
kind of like the Patriots and Peyton Manning, the same situation.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Until he finally got that win and got the Colts to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean it was gotta kid me
You
again.
gotta admit, guys, Tom Brady is responsible for a lot of these great quarterbacks that have come up between 2000 and 2019 not getting there because of Tom Brady. Because of
Tom Brady, exactly.
Well, there's only been 3 quarterbacks that have represented the AFC in the Super Bowl since 2013.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Patrick Mahomes. Actually 4. Burrow made it 1 year.
Burrow made it 1 year. Yeah.
Made it the 1 year. So it's 4. But of all those appearances between 13 and 2024, the other 3 quarterbacks account for all but one of them. And it's impossible. And the AFC is a stacked quarterback conference, and you're going to end up in a situation where this Chiefs dynasty continues. It's going to be like the Bulls in the 90s where Barkley, Malone, Ewing, Reggie Miller, no rings. I mean, because they have the misfortune of playing at the same time as a dynasty like that.
Yes.
But I think some of these teams get in their own heads because they think they got to score on every possession and they got to get a 2-point conversion and they got to get this huge lead so that that Mahomes can't come back on them instead of sitting there and playing the percentages and playing smart football. Andy Reid settles for field goals all the time. Andy Reid isn't going for 2 like crazy.
Right.
And he used to be kind of a gambler where people questioned his clock management because he was the one with Alex Smith having to go against Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, and no lead was safe, blowing the 38-10 lead. And that is the one luxury of having a quarterback like Mahomes, where he's just so good like that. It's very easy to play the percentages, and then when other people don't have to and they start chasing things, like Ken was saying, they're living rent free in Buffalo's head because Buffalo thinks they have to do all these special things to win when they really just need to play the football game.
Well, again, like I said, I go back to my suggestion. The Bills need to shore up that defense. They really do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, to be honest with you, they had a lot of injuries on defense. So I mean, that was that hindered their movement trying to go forward.
Well, again,
like
it's also an impossible task to stop Patrick, whether he's throwing or running the ball too. So I mean, it's just amazing about Patrick finds ways to make yards, to get a first down, or to continue a drive. And I mean, he just finds a way to do it, whether it be with the refs' help or not. It's just a matter of the realization of who Patrick Mahomes is. I mean, he's already being compared by Greeny, of all people, to Jordan. So I mean, because he's going for that three-peat. So there's no discussion as far as how talented and how clutch he is. It's all a matter of, is there a defense out there that can stop him? Now, my question is Philadelphia's defense up to the task, guys, in 2 weeks?
Philadelphia's front four, in fact, I would go as far as their front seven, is pretty damn good. Their secondary, questionable, in my opinion, except for Slay.
Right. Darius Slay is really good. Yeah.
Yeah. He is the one on the back end that I have more confidence in. But their front seven with Carter and Graham, Bond in the middle of the linebacker, their front seven, I think will definitely be able to stop the running game. And their defense seems to have better lane containment when it comes to rushing the quarterback, as opposed to the 5 or 6 times that I got frustrated watching Buffalo on Sunday with Russo going inside at end, as opposed
allowing
to
Mahomes to go outside, or the running back to go outside. Yes.
They have much better gap integrity. So yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
And before we go on, just a word to my brother. Yes, IU will continue to use the word extrapolate.
Just like matriculating down the field.
Matriculating down the field?
Yes. The phrase that Hank Strand created. I love it.
I think Buffalo and Philadelphia have a similar problem, but for different reasons. So if you go back to that game where Josh Allen got the ball with 3.5 minutes left, I thought the biggest problem they had, that's where not having Stephon Diggs kind of came back to haunt them, because they did not have that featured number one wide receiver in the offense that they could go to. And when they had a pass where they didn't have the threat of the run, it just wasn't the same thing. Philadelphia's got a different problem. Philadelphia has the weapons because they have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, so they have the targets that they can go and do that. But Jalen Hurts hasn't shown in this playoffs yet that he can throw when he has to, because they've been ahead for so much of the playoffs.
I'm gonna disagree with you, because he did a fine job in that NFC Championship game against the Commanders.
They didn't have to throw the ball. They were never behind in the game. I'm talking about when you're behind 7 points in the game in the fourth quarter, and they know that the running threat isn't there, and you have to pass the ball. You can't use the run, play action, any of that stuff to set it up. And I thought Buffalo was fine without a featured receiver when Cook and Allen had the threat of the run, and they were able to do things off of that. Once they had to pass the ball and didn't have the threat of the run, that's where they missed the number one receiver. The Eagles have a little bit of a different issue because they have Brown and Devontae Smith and Goddard. They have the targets downfield, but Hurts is a little inconsistent as a passer when he's behind, and he's going to have to, they either have to make sure they don't get behind so they're not in that situation, or he's going to have to show that he can make those throws when he doesn't have the threat of the running.
Saquon's going to have to take over the game if the Eagles are going to win. He's going to have to take it over.
I believe he needs at least 125 yards.
Yeah. That's the thing, though. Saquon ran like crazy against Washington and who were the two they played beforehand?
Green Bay contained him pretty well, and that was their worst offensive game of the playoffs, because it was 22-10. But they got set up with that special teams fiasco on the kickoff to start the game on that short field. I didn't think Philadelphia's offense was the reason they won that game, but the Rams, they played very well against, and Barkley ran all over them. And then Washington, I mean, that was just a complete wipeout of the
they're going to be seeing much better defense in Kansas City than they had.
Saquon took it 60 yards in the first play from scrimmage for the Eagles. So I mean, if the Eagles are going to win, Saquon needs to take over this game. He really does.
Well, James Cook did
because when Saquon takes over the game, it frees up Deshaun, and it frees up, both receivers.
Brown.
AJ Brown. It frees them both up to be those big time receivers. If if Kansas City's afraid of the run with Saquon, that opens up the edges and opens up the receivers to have a good game as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Saquon needs to be the key. You know what? So I'm saying, I mean, granted, Kansas City has a great offense or defense, but Saquon Barkley, man, he's the magic. He's the magic number. He really is.
He's the equalizer.
He's got to be the bell
didn't have
cow.
an issue running against Kansas City. He had a decent game running against Kansas City. The problem with the Bills, once again, that stupid let's try it 6 times, and that I think we can put that under the definition of insanity.
Right. If you keep doing the same thing over and over, it doesn't work. If you do it, keep doing it, it's not gonna work anyway. So I mean, yeah, I agree with you on that, Wayne.
Another issue I have, possibly playing against the Eagles' chances. I'm sorry, but it's Sirianni. Do you trust him in a game of this magnitude? Because
nope.
I have my doubts sometimes, and if he, I don't think he's going to be able to outcoach Andy Reid. And if he makes some of the strange decisions he's made in the past, like he did against Green Bay,
right,
they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, you go back to the beginning of the season when they started 2-2. They were trying to be more of a pass offense, and when they went on this run after the bye week in week 5, it was having the offense run through Saquon Barkley and be a run first offense. And the challenge for them is if Kansas City gets up 7-0, 10-0 right away early in the game, do they have the patience to stick with the run with a lot of time on there, or do they start trying to pass the ball to get back into the game? And I think Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback that does a lot of good things, but like I said before, his one weakness is when he has to go out there and throw the ball 40 times and not rely on the running game. That's not a recipe for success for them.
No,
so they got to make sure they keep that score close and that they stay committed to the running game.
Right.
The other thing is turnovers. They got a +10 turnover differential in these playoffs. They've forced 4 turnovers in 2 of their games and 2 turnovers in the other one. They have yet to turn the ball over in the postseason, and that's going to be huge. They got to make sure that they don't turn the ball over in this game.
Kansas City,
and you know
Kansas City's played 8 straight games without turning the ball over.
Right, but you know what? I think Philadelphia has a better offensive line than the Chiefs do. That offensive line for Philadelphia is it's huge.
And their defensive line is huge as well.
Injuries to the center be damned, okay, because they got 2 centers that are hobbled, okay. But I mean that offensive line it's probably the best in the NFL. So that'll allow Jalen Hurts to get time and also open up running lanes for Saquon Barkley. So I mean,
they're not only going to have to win;
they have to take advantage of that. Yes.
Dominate the trenches.
Yeah, they have to dominate the line of scrimmage in order for Philadelphia to win this game. And you know what? They got the best offensive line in football, and I can't see why they wouldn't do it. I'm hoping, as much as I hate saying it, go Philadelphia, because I hate the Eagles fans. I know Ken does too.
You throw me into that group.
Yeah, you can throw me in there too. I don't think anybody likes it.
But I mean, I guess I don't know if we're all going to be Philly fans for one game and one game only to deny the Chiefs their three-peat. Because I'm just tired of Kansas City winning and everything. You know what? To be honest,
enough humble pie this year.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes was not all that great this year. He really wasn't. But they still found ways to win games. So I know I'm debating whether or not just to throw some freaking music in or watch a movie and not watch the game at all. I don't know, but still. I mean, the 2 of the teams that I really didn't want in there. I know we all preferred the Bills and the Commanders, but still, it's just sad. Anyway,
I agree with Ken.
When's the draft?
Yeah, I agree with Ken on one point. Sirianni can't screw this up.
Yeah.
He can't overthink it. He cannot overthink himself and overcoach it. He can't.
I was listening to someone too where they said, the Eagles are basically better at almost every position on the field,
right?
Except quarterback. Yep. I mean, when you really think about it, how many guys from the Eagles could start with the or from the Chiefs could start for the Eagles. I mean, there's not many of them. Chris Jones obviously would, but Jalen Carter's fantastic in the middle. Kelsey could, but there's not a huge drop off between him and Goddard.
Right.
Obviously for their career, there's a huge drop off, but we're talking about Kelsey today.
Well, Goddard's a lot younger too, so that helps.
Right. I mean, Kelsey isn't the same guy that he was in 2016, 2017 in the prime years of his career. But the thing is, Kansas City has the huge advantage at the two positions that matter most: quarterback, head coach,
and head coach. And I would say it's a farther gap in the coach range as opposed to the quarterback range.
Andy Reid is a much better coach than Sirianni. Yes, I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Andy Reid's been here a number of times now. This is Sirianni's first chance, first opportunity.
Yeah, and Andy Reid.
This is his second. He had him there 2 years ago. He was the coach the last time they were there.
Yeah, Andy Reid.
Yeah, remember? Yeah, it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
So. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
when they won it, Peterson was the coach.
Yeah.
Right.
When they beat the Patriots.
But he beat the Patriots. Right. Yeah.
Right.
One time that, one of the few times Brady gets beaten. Now, not counting the 2 times the Giants beat him, but still, he won it with a backup quarterback. But again, that was Doug Peterson. It wasn't Sirianni. Right. But you know what? I mean, to go back to the game between 2 years ago when they played, the Eagles were in that game the entire time. It could have gone either way.
The game basically from beginning to end, except for the end.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and this is going to be a lower scoring game, I think, because that game where the Chiefs shredded the Eagles defense, they were the number 1 scoring offense and the number 1 yardage offense in the league.
They're not now.
Year. That's not what they are this year.
Their defense is better than their offense right now.
Yes.
But curious how ironic it is that the Chiefs finally score over 30 points in a game.
And it's against
the only game that they've scored over 30 points this year.
And it's against the Bills.
You know what? You know that reminds me of? That reminds me a little bit of the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, because their offense was pathetic. Their defense carried them the entire time.
Because Trent Dilfer was their quarterback, Ken. That's why.
Yeah, I don't think this Chiefs offense is as bad as the 2000 Ravens. They're not.
No.
They're not that. I mean, the thing about this Chiefs offense that they're really good at is third down conversions. I think they were second in third down conversions by percentage, and they converted the most third downs by a mile. This is the best 5-minute offense in the league. If they have a lead, fourth quarter, 5 minutes left, Andy Reid knows how to scheme up plays to get first down and just drain the clock. And that's why these other teams get so nervous, because if there's 10 minutes left in the game and they're within a field goal, that's why they do start doing all kinds of crazy things, because they know if they get that team the ball back with 5 minutes left and they're still down, they're not getting the ball back.
Well, it bothers me that in the first half, you're chasing points. Take that extra point and move on. Don't chase the points until you absolutely necessarily have to do it.
And that's
so
what the
they
Bills were doing.
chased the points and lost, potential for those 2 extra points, which would have, I'm not saying it's going to change the outcome of the game, but it would have made it look quite a bit different.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think, when you talked about this being their first game that they scored over 30 points, that's what I don't get. If you're going to chase points in a game, I can understand doing it like when the Rams and the Chiefs played each other on that Monday night game a number of years ago, where the score is 54-51. And you basically know it's a touchdown every possession, and it's a race to 50 points. That isn't who the Chiefs are. They're in the 20s almost all the games.
Right.
Points come at a premium. A field goal is not a bad play. An extra point isn't a bad play. Accumulate points against this team and see where you stand in the fourth quarter. Don't chase them like people are playing against them like they're still playing against Mahomes in the 50 touchdown pass season. That is not who this team is.
No, because they don't have that marquee receiver anymore. But you know what? And most of what they've achieved is because Patrick Mahomes has willed those wins based on his feet or his smart thinking, his arm, whatever. Mahomes is the factor is in this equation. So it is, we'll see.
I think there could be another X factor though. And I noticed this quite a bit last Sunday, is having Hollywood Brown in there, because that gives him another receiver that he can count on, and he's going to be looking for him.
Well, and I've heard pundits say, I didn't realize they didn't realize that D-Hop was still on this team, or Hollywood Brown for that matter.
Yeah.
You know, you got to remember, they got D-Hop and they got Hollywood Brown.
I think he got targeted one time on Sunday, DeAndre Hopkins. I think I only remember one target, and that was an incomplete pass.
They've been so injured this year, they've had to accumulate all kinds of different players to sit there and patch their way through it. They don't have a guy with 1,000 yards from scrimmage this year. Their leading guy from scrimmage is Kareem Hunt with 904 yards. And that's in a 17-game schedule, and yet they're still in this position.
Don't get me started on Kareem Hunt and the Browns letting him walk.
Why'd you have to mention Kareem Hunt, Derek?
I know. Why? Derek. Stick that dagger further in my heart. Thank you very much.
The Browns could have won 5 games this year.
It's 3. Yeah, I know. Go ahead. Anyway. All right, let's go ahead and talk about 2 weeks from now. First of all, who's actually going to watch the game in this panel? I'm assuming everybody will watch the game.
Absolutely.
I'm in it for the commercials this time.
What's that, Wayne?
I'm in it for the commercials.
There you go. Wouldn't it for the commercials?
I'm in it for the commercials.
Definitely.
All right, and let's have our predictions. Kenny, what do you think?
Well, we're still two weeks away from the game, but
right.
I'll say, 27-24 Philadelphia.
All right, and Wayne?
My prediction is Philly 31, Kansas City 24, referees 8.
All right, Derek, you're the guru. Go ahead.
Andy Reid, I think, is 31-7 coming off the bye week. He's probably the best bye week.
He's got 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You're right.
2 weeks to prepare for this game. I'm going to go with the Chiefs 27-21. I'll be rooting for the Eagles because the Packers are the only team in NFL history that's three-peated. They've done it twice, once before the championship.
They did it with an NFL championship and then back-to-back Super Bowls. You are correct. That's when they did it. Yes.
65 through 67, and then also 1929 through 31 before there was championship games. They won the league title 3 years in a row then too. So I'd like to see them stay the only team to three-peat, but if somebody's going to join them, the Chiefs are definitely
their opponents in Super Bowl I, so that was the original. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for squeezing a little bit of lemon juice in that wound for me. So. I'm the only one. Well, I don't know.
You're talking about the Ice Bowl, Ken? Is that what you're talking
Ice
about?
Bowl and the one before that. So 2 years in a row. Watch both games.
All right, I'm going to go Philadelphia 30, Chiefs 24. I just think the defense is too much for Kansas City. Then again, it could be 30-24 Kansas City. I mean, this is a toss-up, and I really don't care who wins this game because I hate both teams. I can't stand either one.
I have to care. I want Kansas City to lose. I do not want to see them three-peat. Three-peat.
But yeah, that's my pick. I think Philly wins. But it's going to be close.
I want them both to lose, but that's obviously not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. You see the memes out there, Wayne. The only people rooting for either team are in Philadelphia and Kansas City. Everybody else doesn't care. Yeah. So, they either want a comet to drop down or a meteor to drop down, or they don't care. So whatever it is.
I'd really like to see Saquon get his ring. I think, with what he had to endure with the Giants and how it worked out well for him this year. I mean, as far as the one thing I could stomach Philadelphia winning just because it would mean Saquon Barkley's getting a ring.
Because the Giants refused to sign him and re-sign Daniel Jones instead, first of all.
And then released him.
And you know what, guys? I still love the commentary on how Dan Snyder is just pissed off and uncomfortable.
He's hating it
as to how good the Commanders are. He's wallowing in misery. Let alone he's on his $200 million yacht with $6 billion in his pocket. But still, he's miserable, and that's all.
He probably had a few giggles last Sunday watching them get creamed. But
you know what? Good riddance to Dan Snyder. He had no business being the owner of that team anyway. He never won any champions. He never got in the playoffs. And if he did, they got kicked out the first round. You know,
well, that was the first time they were in the championship game since 1991.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who was the owner at that time? Was it? I forget the name of the guy who owned it.
Kent Cook.
Kent Cook. Kent Cook. Yes. He was a much better owner than Dan Snyder was. Dan Snyder only cared about getting the money from the team and not winning anything. So
kind of like Jerry down in Dallas.
Yes.
No kidding.
I got to ask Ken, what do you think of the Schottenheimer era starting down in Dallas now?
Let me say this. Everybody keeps calling.
I was going to ask him this too, Derek. Thank you for bringing it up.
Oh, okay.
Everyone keeps calling him Shoddy, and I'm so sick of that already. The man's name is Schottenheimer. Okay, he's been an assistant coach 25 years. Yes, he deserves a chance at a head coaching job. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, but
he does come from a good bloodline. Ken.
He does come from a good bloodline.
You know how much I love Marty Schottenheimer. You know how much I love that guy.
Yes,
Browns coach. The Gleam, man. It's the Gleam. Go for the
Gleam. Well, he comes from a good bloodline.
He's the best Browns coach you had for the last 40 years.
Ding, 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 ding. You're right. Thank you very much.
I will say this, Ken.
What?
He comes from a good bloodline. Schottenheimer does.
Right.
However, he has Jerry Jones not only as the owner, but as the GM. And they're
Jerry Jones will always be looking over his shoulder.
Until that changes, nothing else will change. So, but bless him.
Usually when a coordinator gets a job, you're like, yeah, he's getting his job because of this unit. You know, he did such a good job with this quarterback or this particular team. Like, Ben Johnson, got a job because of what he did with Jared Goff. And what offense has Schottenheimer ever coached that you're like, wow, I'd like him to bring that to my team.
That's the thing. He's been with the Cowboys for 3 or 4 years now, and up until this year, he was calling the plays. But after 2023, McCarthy all of a sudden says, "No, okay, I'm going to be calling the plays this year." So Schottenheimer's not doing anything but consult.
I wonder if Brian is another yes man for Jerry Jones.
I hope not. I mean, I don't know if you guys got to see his introduction.
It wasn't pretty, Ken. It really wasn't.
I mean, it sounded. I posted this on Facebook. It sounded more like a retirement speech.
Now they bring in Matt Eberflus to control the defense.
I'm sorry.
Now they bring in Matt Eberflus, who's now the new defensive coordinator for the Cowboys.
Hang on, guys. Let's make predictions for the Cowboys win next year.
Laughing their asses off about that.
Hang on.
That's not me.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, let's forget Super Bowl predictions and let's predict how many games the Cowboys will win next year.
I mean, it's so hard to do that before the draft, but it's not going to do anything with the draft picks. So, I mean, they're the third best team in this division. I can't see them winning more than 6 or 7 games at this point. I really can't.
I'll say 7.
7 and 10 again.
It's the one thing I did read, and who knows, Deion Sanders, it doesn't sound like he's ready to come to the NFL yet.
He's not leaving Colorado. He likes Colorado. He's not leaving.
Well, it depends. I mean, you get the right check in front of him, and if he, let's say he gets Colorado to the national championship game like Harbaugh did and wins a title and has accomplished everything he wants to there, and all of a sudden Jerry offers him, $15 million a year, he might leave Colorado at that point. And they were saying that, with Schottenheimer, this probably isn't your head coach for the next 5 years, 10 years.
No.
But I just think in the NFL, you can't afford to give away seasons. And you got Dak Prescott, who's in his 30s. You're just going to, and under a huge contract, you're just going to give away the next 2 seasons, hoping that Deion will want to come. If that's the strategy, it's a bad one.
Yes. They've had nothing but bad strategies here lately, so they're definitely going to need to look at getting another quarterback because Dak's not going to last forever.
Well, keep this in mind, Derek, as you said about Schottenheimer, and is he going to be there for the next 5 years? Who expected Jason Garrett to be there for 8 years?
That's a good point.
That's a very good point.
Very good point.
Sir Clap a lot.
I still love his nickname from the Dan Patrick show, where that Shay and Irving would call in and call him the Ivy League Ginger.
He's the Ginger Fail.
Yeah, nobody expected him to be there 8 years. So hey, Schottenheimer could be there 6 years. He could be there 6 months, but put it past those people there for a while.
It's been really interesting watching the head coaching hiring cycle, because I know with the Jaguars, I thought they had lost their guy, and then all of a sudden they finally fired Trent Baalke. I figure Liam, he doesn't even have to win a game, and he's a hero down there because he finally got rid of Baalke for him.
Baalke.
Yeah. The only hiring position left is New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, New Orleans.
What I saw yesterday, the Vegas favorite right now for New Orleans is McCarthy. So
it sounds like they're in a contract disagreement where he might want more years and more money than what they're willing to give. So I don't know if he's. I would think he's going to end up there. I think he was an assistant coach down there for a while. He's got familiarity in the building, and they need somebody that's established. I think to go another coordinator route for them doesn't make sense with how their roster is constructed right now. I think a veteran coach is the.
Are they going to bring in an offensive coordinator in Dallas, or is it going to be all on Schottenheimer?
I'm sure they're going to have some kind of offensive coordinator. I don't know who it's going to be, but he's going to have some say in the play calling. Again,
right. Well, Ken, for the record, I root for Brian because of who his dad was. Okay. Yeah. Doesn't mean I like the Cowboys any more than I did before.
Yeah. Didn't ask you to be a big Cowboy.
But I'm rooting for Brian to do well because of who his dad is and because of the bloodline. Marty Schottenheimer, along with coaches like Sam Latigliano and Paul Brown, of course, is one of the most popular head coaches in the history of the Cleveland Browns. Marty was even more popular than Bill Belichick when he was the coach of the Browns. So, I root for Brian. I think his dad would be proud that he got a head coach job.
Yeah.
I'm sad that Marty's not here to see him get that job.
Marty was the coach the year they played the Broncos back-to-back, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Marty was the head coach for the drive and the fumble.
Yeah, the fumble, yeah.
God,
don't remind me. But he wasn't on the field.
He wasn't on the field doing the stuff. No, I mean, the defense failed on the drive, and then Ernest Biner fumbles that ball as he was going to cross the goal line. So
he didn't even make it to the goal line.
But then again, also, pundits have said the Browns would have done better against the teams that the Broncos faced in the Super Bowls. They would have done a better job. They
Absolutely.
Going back to what you said a few minutes ago.
Bertie Kosar and Webster Slaughter and all those guys, Ozzie was still there, would have done a hell of a better job in those Super Bowls than the Broncos did.
The Broncos were a one-man team.
A minute ago, Scott, you said that you are rooting for Brian Schottenheimer.
Yes.
To do well, even though you're not a Cowboys fan.
Correct.
So instead of 7-10, you want them to go 8-9.
Yes, sir. Correct. Maybe
even
9-8, but it's, it is what it is.
We got 8. We got 8. We'll hear 9 to hear 9.
All right, we're gonna close it up, guys. Thanks, Derek, for coming on tonight. You were a surprise, and I welcome that surprise. Anytime you're ready to come up, you're more than welcome. You don't need my permission. You don't need my request to ask you. If you want to come up, just come up. Okay.
I always appreciate that. Thank you. It was great being here.
And Ken and Wayne, always, you guys are the best. Enjoy the game, guys. We will be back on Sunday at our regular time with special guest Ron Gallo. So NHL is on the docket for Sunday night. We're going to talk some hockey.
A little
Maybe
hockey.
some NBA if John wants to talk NBA. I know he's not real happy with the NBA right now, but we may even talk some NBA. So, and don't forget, spring training is right around the corner, guys. Spring training is coming up.
What was that movie with the Hanson brothers? Old time hockey.
Yes,
Old
exactly.
hockey.
So
plus we may have some discussion about wagering on the touch football game and Pro Bowl.
Anybody who bets on the Pro Bowl games is stupid.
You've got a gambling problem.
You got a real problem.
I found that under being a degenerate.
Yes, exactly. All right, gentlemen. Have a great week. We'll see Ken and Wayne on Sunday. Hopefully John and Elliot will join us as well as Ron. And with that being said, we are the Sports Nerds. We thank you for listening and watching. We're out till Sunday.